Fleet Admiral Kim Woo-shik stood on the bridge of the human flagship Incheon as it approached the Vaxari homeworld. The massive alien planet hung in space like a gray, wounded giant, surrounded by the remnants of what had once been the galaxy's most feared fleet. 5 months of war had ended, not with total destruction, but with something no one had expected. The Vaxari Empire had surrendered, but their message had shocked every species in the galaxy. They were not just giving up. They were asking humans to teach them how to live differently. The surrender ceremony took place aboard the Incheon in a conference room that had been hastily converted for the historic moment. Commander Thekvar, once the proud leader of Vaxari conquest, forces now looked broken and confused as he faced Admiral Kim Woo-shik. "We surrender our empire to human authority," Thekvar said in a voice that shook with uncertainty. "But we do not understand what comes next. Every species we conquered either served us or was destroyed. What will you do with us?" Admiral Kim Woo-shik looked at the alien commander with calm eyes. "We will give you something your people have never experienced before, a chance to learn a better way to live. You will face trials for your war crimes, but even your worst criminals will receive quick, painless deaths after fair judgment. This is what humans call justice." The terms of surrender spread across the galaxy within hours. Instead of enslaving the Vaxari or forcing them into labor camps, humans offered rehabilitation and education. War criminals would face human justice systems, but even they would be treated with dignity. Commander Yu Ji-hoon was placed in charge of the former Vaxari territories. His first order shocked both humans and aliens alike. All torture facilities were to be converted into hospitals and schools. All prisoners, regardless of species, were to receive immediate medical care and counseling. The work was not easy. Many Vaxari could not understand why humans would help their former enemies. Some tried to return to their old ways of cruelty and had to be stopped. But slowly, something remarkable began to happen. Young Vaxari, who had grown up knowing only violence, began to learn about concepts like kindness and mercy. On the Vaxari homeworld, a creature who had once been called General Morthek approached Commander Yu Ji-hoon with a request that would have been impossible under the old system. "I wish to take a human name," he said quietly. "I want to be called Peaceseeker because your people taught me that strength comes from ending suffering, not causing it." This was the first time in galactic history that a member of a conquered species had voluntarily adopted the culture of their conquerors, not from fear but from genuine desire to change. The story spread across dozens of worlds, inspiring other former Vaxari to make similar requests. Dr. Jung Eun-hee became Earth's first ambassador to the reformed Vaxari Republic, working with former warriors to understand human concepts of compassion and mercy. Her job was unlike anything in diplomatic history, teaching an entire species how to value life instead of suffering. The changes were not limited to Vaxari space. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to adopt human military protocols, including the Mercy Doctrine, which stated that enemy combatants should be defeated quickly and efficiently without unnecessary suffering. Death in battle became seen as an honorable end rather than shameful defeat. Species across the galaxy began changing their military training. Young soldiers from dozens of different worlds learned human concepts about fighting to protect rather than fighting to dominate. The idea that true victory meant helping your enemies find peace rather than keeping them in pain became the new standard. Captain Oh Sung-min, grandson of one of the original human defenders, now patrolled the peaceful borders between human and former Vaxari space. His grandfather had fought in the first battles when the aliens still believed torture was strength. Now both species worked together to maintain peace. He often thought about the lessons his grandfather had taught him before the old man died. "True strength is not about how much pain you can cause your enemies," his grandfather had said. "True strength is about how much pain you can prevent." The patrol ship passed a space station where human and former Vaxari engineers worked side by side, building new medical facilities for the outer colonies. Children from both species played together in the station's recreation areas, learning each other's languages and customs. On dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, integrated schools taught the principle that had become universal law. In war we fight to win, in victory we choose mercy, in death we grant peace. These words were spoken in hundreds of different languages, but the meaning was always the same. The transformation was not complete overnight. Some species still struggled with concepts of merciful warfare. Some former Vaxari still had nightmares about the cruelty they had once considered normal. But progress was being made across the galaxy. The most dramatic example came when a group of young beings from 12 different species formed the first Galactic Peace Corps. Their mission was to travel to worlds experiencing conflict and teach the human principles of merciful resolution rather than total destruction. Peace Seeker, who had once been the Vaxari torturer, General Morthek became the organization's first non-human leader. His speech at the founding ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. "I spent my life believing that causing pain made me strong," he said to the assembled crowd of young beings from many worlds. "But humans taught me that anyone can hurt someone who is helpless. Real strength is having the power to cause suffering and choosing not to use it. Real strength is ending conflict rather than prolonging it." The ceremony was held on Earth in the same city where Admiral Kim Tae-ho had first declared that humans would grant their enemies the mercy of dying only once. Now that same principle had become the foundation of galactic civilization. Captain Oh Sung-min received a transmission from Earth Command informing him that the last Vaxari Rehabilitation Center had graduated its final class. Every former member of the torture regime had either learned new ways of thinking or had chosen quick, painless execution over attempting to return to their old methods. The war that had begun with first contact between humans and Vaxari had ended with something unprecedented in galactic history. An entire civilization had been transformed, not through conquest or destruction, but through the power of mercy and compassion. Children across the galaxy now grew up learning that conflict should end suffering, not cause it. That true victory meant helping former enemies find peace. That the strongest choice was often the most merciful one. The galaxy had learned that Earth's greatest weapon was not advanced technology or superior tactics. It was the revolutionary idea that even the worst enemies deserved the dignity of a quick death rather than prolonged suffering. And from that simple concept of mercy had grown a new way of thinking that changed everything. Peace was not just the absence of war, it was the presence of compassion. And humanity had taught the galaxy that this was the strongest foundation any civilization could build upon. Commander Taemin walked slowly across the metal floor of his ship. The ship was called Soul Pride, and it was the biggest human ship in space. Or so the aliens thought. The truth was very different, but nobody could know that yet. Not until the right time came. He looked out the big window at the enemy ships coming closer. Every ship was huge and dark and covered with weapons that could destroy planets. The alien fleet had 60 ships, and each one was 3 times bigger than any human ship they had ever seen before. At least that was what the aliens believed. Taemin pressed a button on his chair and spoke to his crew. "Listen everyone, they are almost here. Remember what we practiced for 3 years. We are weak, we are scared, we beg for mercy. We are not ready to fight just like we did with the colonies, just like we always do." His tactical officer Sora sat at her control station. Her fingers moved over the buttons, but she did not press anything important yet. Her screen showed the real numbers, the real weapons, the real power of the human fleet, but those numbers were hidden behind fake readings. The aliens could only see what humans wanted them to see. Behind them, Dr. Hyun-woo watched the medical readings of every person on the ship. Heart rates were normal. Blood pressure was steady. Everyone was calm, even though death ships were coming to destroy Earth. This was not normal for a scared species. This was the behavior of predators waiting to strike. The communication screen turned on and a blue alien appeared. His skin was like the color of deep ocean water, and he had 4 arms instead of 2. His eyes were black and cold like empty space. His name was Overlord Nexus, and he ruled this part of the galaxy. "Humans of the 3rd planet," the alien said with a voice like grinding rocks. "Your time of freedom is over. We have been watching you for many cycles. You are weak, but you can work. You can serve the great hegemony. Like all the other races we have found." Taemin made his face look afraid, even though inside he felt only cold anger. "We are honored by your attention, Great Overlord," he said with a shaking voice that was not really shaking. "Perhaps we can find a way to serve that does not require violence. We are a peaceful people." The alien laughed and the sound made the air vibrate. "Peaceful? Yes. That is what all the weak ones say before they learn to obey. Your colonies begged too before we took them away to work in our mines and factories. They learned that the hegemony does not negotiate with food. Sora checked her hidden readings. The alien ships were moving into attack position, just like the tactical manuals said they would do. The hegemony always did the same thing when they conquered a new world. First they demanded surrender. Then they showed their weapons. Then they destroyed enough cities to break the spirit of the defenders. "You have one rotation of your planet," the alien continued. "Before we begin processing your world, give us your military ships, your weapons, your strongest people, and half of your population for work duties. The rest can live as servants on their own world. This is generous. The hegemony could take everything." Taman nodded like he was thinking about this terrible choice. In truth, there was no choice to make. The choice had been made 3 years ago when the first reports came back from the outer colonies. The reports of entire worlds stripped of their people, their children taken to work until they died in alien mines. "Great Overlord," he said, "we need time to discuss this with our leaders. Surely the mighty hegemony can wait a few more hours for our answer. We are not warriors. We do not understand these things." Behind him, crew members moved quietly at their station's communications officer. Min Jung was recording every word, every frequency, every code the aliens used. Weapons specialist Dong Hyun was mapping the alien ships piece by piece, finding weak spots and calculating firing solutions. Dr. Hyunwoo was studying the aliens themselves, learning how they thought, how they reacted, how they could be broken. The alien overlord waved one of his 4 hands. "Time is a luxury for those with power. You have no power. Therefore you have no time. But we are not without mercy. You have until your sun touches the horizon. Then we begin taking what we came for, whether you agree or not." The screen went dark and the bridge became quiet, except for the soft sounds of machines working. Timon stood up from his command chair and walked to the big window again. The alien ships were bigger now, close enough to see the details of their hulls covered with weapons and armor that had conquered 100 worlds. Sir said, "So, Ra," her voice steady. "They are moving into standard intimidation formation. The same pattern they used at Kepler Station and New Tokyo Colony. They expect us to panic and surrender like everyone else." Tae-min smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had waited a long time for the perfect moment. "And we will," he said. "At least that is what they will think." He pressed another button on his chair and spoke to someone far away. "Admiral Jin Ho, this is Seoul Pride. The hegemony has made their final demand. They want half our people and all our weapons. They give us until sunset." The answer came back immediately in a voice that was calm and cold. "Permission granted, Commander. Show them what happens when predators stop pretending to be prey." Tae-min turned to his crew, and for the first time in 3 years he let them see his real expression. Not the fake fear they had practiced, but the cold anger of a species that had been pushed too far. Tonight the galaxy learns that humans are not sheep. We are wolves. And we have been pretending to be sheep for so long that we almost forgot how to hunt. Sora pressed a button, and across the solar system, hidden signals began to move. Signals that would wake up weapons that had been sleeping for years. Signals that would call ships that had been hiding in dark places between planets. Signals that would tell the galaxy that Earth was done being afraid. The alien ships moved closer, confident in their power, not knowing they were flying into the most carefully planned trap in the history of space warfare. They thought they were hunting sheep, but sheep do not plan for 3 years. Sheep do not study their enemies. Sheep do not build secret weapons in the dark. The sunset was coming, and with it, the end of humanity's peaceful facade. The hegemony wanted to meet Earth real monsters, and tonight they would get their wish. The sun touched the horizon on Earth, and everything changed in one moment. Commander Tae-min watched from his bridge as the greatest deception in human history finally ended. The mask his species had worn for 3 long years was about to fall away and show the galaxy what humans really were. All across Earth, things that looked like normal buildings began to move. Factories that the aliens thought made simple tools suddenly opened up to reveal massive weapons that could destroy moons. Mining stations on asteroids stopped pretending to dig for rocks and showed their real purpose as fortress bases, with enough firepower to level cities. Sora pressed a series of buttons on her control panel and watched her screen fill with new information, sir, she said with excitement in her voice. All camouflage systems are going offline. We are showing our real fleet strength now. What had looked like 30 small human ships defending Earth suddenly became 300 warships each. Ship had been hiding behind advanced cloaking technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Cargo vessels that seemed to carry food and supplies dropped their fake hulls to reveal weapon platforms, bristling with missile launchers and energy. Cannons, the moon itself began to crack open along lines that had been cut years before. What the hegemony scanners had reported as solid rock was actually a shell, hiding the biggest military shipyard humans had ever built. Deep inside the lunar surface, thousands of workers had been building ships designed for one purpose: hunting aliens. Overlord Nexus appeared on the communication screen again, but this time his 4 arms were shaking and his black eyes were wide with shock. What trickery is this, he demanded. Our sensors showed only primitive defensive capabilities. Your technology readings indicated a barely spacefaring species. Taemin smiled, and this time he did not try to hide the coldness in his expression. That is because you have never met a species that survived by being underestimated, Overlord. Perhaps your databases should include information about Earth animals that play dead when threatened. We call it playing possum, and humans have turned it into an art form, Doctor. Hyunwoo stepped forward from his medical station, where he had been monitoring the psychological state of both human and alien crew members. Your species' psychology profile suggests you have never encountered prey that fights back effectively, he said in a calm voice, like he was discussing the weather. All your previous conquests surrendered quickly or died quickly. You have no experience with long-term strategic deception. The alien overlord made sounds that the translation computers could not understand. His blue skin was turning darker, and his breathing was becoming faster. Signs of stress that Dr. Hyunwoo noted with professional interest. Communications Officer Min Jung looked up from her station. Commander, I am intercepting hegemony military frequencies. They are calling for immediate reinforcements from their nearest fleet base. They seem genuinely surprised by our capabilities. They have not seen anything yet, replied. Taemin signal, Luna base. Begin Phase 2 of the Revelation, deep inside the moon. Massive doors opened that had been sealed for 20 years. What emerged was not what anyone expected. The Luna base had not been a research facility. Like the public records showed, it had been a secret shipyard, and from its hidden chambers came ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were not the defensive platforms that primitive species usually built when they were threatened. These were hunter ships, sleek and deadly, and built by minds that understood warfare not as conquest but as extermination. Each vessel represented years of studying captured hegemony technology and finding ways to turn their own weapons against them. The new ships moved with a grace that made the watching aliens afraid. They did not fly like machines controlled by computers. They moved like living predators stalking prey. Every turn, every acceleration, every formation change was smooth and natural, like a pack of wolves surrounding a herd of sheep. Captain Yoon Seo commanded the lead hunter ship called Busan Fury. Her crew had trained in absolute secrecy, learning every detail about hegemony ships and tactics. They knew exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. They had studied videos of previous alien conquests, learning from the mistakes of other species. All hunter ships. This is Fury, leader. She broadcast on a frequency the aliens could not intercept. Remember what we learned in training. The hegemony has grown soft from centuries of easy victories. They expect desperate last stands or immediate surrender. They do not expect methodical professional military action. The human fleet began to move, and their formation was nothing like what the aliens expected. Instead of charging forward in a desperate attack or forming a defensive line around Earth, the human ships spread out in a complex pattern that surrounded the alien fleet from all directions. This was not the behavior of a frightened primitive species. This was the coordinated movement of professional soldiers who had planned every detail of this engagement. The aliens found themselves looking at tactical formations that their own military academies would have admired. Overlord Nexus tried to re-establish communication, but his transmissions were being jammed by human electronic warfare specialists who had been studying hegemony communication protocols for years. When he finally got through, his voice was no longer confident. "Human commander," he said, "what are your terms for negotiation? We can discuss a withdrawal from this system without further conflict." Taman looked at his tactical display, which showed alien ships trying to form defensive positions but failing because human ships kept appearing in places where sensors said there was empty space. "Terms," he said. "Overlord, you had 3 years to offer terms while you were enslaving our colonies and stealing our people. Now you will learn why humans are the only species to successfully domesticate both wolves and sharks. We do not just defeat our enemies, we make sure they remember the lesson permanently." The psychological impact of these words spread through the hegemony fleet as their translators converted human speech into their own language. For the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, they were hearing prey speak to them like predators. What terrified them most was the realization that they had not stumbled into a trap. They had been deliberately led into one. The humans had not been hiding their strength out of fear. They had been hiding it the way a spider hides in its web, waiting for the right moment to strike. As more human ships continued to appear from hidden positions throughout the solar system, the alien fleet began to understand the true scope of their mistake. They had not come to conquer a weak species. They had come to test themselves against the apex predators of this part of the galaxy. The revelation was complete. Earth had stopped pretending to be weak. Now the real war could begin. The moon surface exploded in controlled bursts of fire and light as humanity's secret weapon finally emerged from its hiding place. What the hegemony thought was just another dead rock in space had been hollow for 20 years. Inside that hollow, space human engineers had built the most advanced shipyard the galaxy had ever seen. From the lunar depths came ships that made the alien overlords' hearts fill with terror. These were not defensive vessels built to protect a home world. These were predator ships designed by minds that understood hunting as a science. Each hull was painted in colors that absorbed scanner beams, making them nearly invisible until they chose to be seen. Captain Yun Seo stood on the bridge of her hunter ship, Busan Fury, watching her prey through screens that showed every detail of the enemy fleet. Her crew had trained for this moment since the first colonies went silent. Each person at their station knew exactly what to do and when to do it. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves that had found a herd of sheep scattered across an open field. They did not rush forward in desperate attacks. Instead, they positioned themselves with careful patience, surrounding individual alien vessels and cutting off escape routes. Yun Seo opened communication channels to her fellow hunters. "All ships, this is Fury, leader. Remember our training. The hegemony has conquered 50 species in the last century. Every single conquest followed the same pattern. Overwhelming force followed by immediate surrender. They have never faced an organized resistance. The hunter ships began their deadly dance around the alien fleet. Each movement was calculated 3 steps ahead. Every position was chosen to maximize damage while minimizing risk. This was not the desperate fighting of a cornered animal. This was the methodical work of professional killers. Lieutenant Dong Hyun sat at the weapons console of the hunter ship, Incheon Wrath. His fingers moved across targeting controls that had been designed specifically to exploit hegemony shield technology. For 3 years, human scientists had studied wreckage from the fallen colonies, learning every weakness, every flaw, every vulnerability. Target the quantum resonance points. In their shield generators, he reported to his captain, "We know exactly where to hit them. The aliens think their defenses are perfect, but we have been studying their technology longer than they realize." The first alien ship to die was a destroyer that had made the mistake of separating from the main fleet. Human hunters surrounded it, like sharks smelling blood and water. Their weapons fired in perfect coordination, each shot hitting a different part of the enemy's shield matrix. What terrified the alien crews was not just that their shields failed, but how they failed. The humans were not trying to overwhelm their defenses with brute force. Instead, They were surgically dismantling each system piece by piece like a doctor performing an Operation Hegemony Dreadnought. Eternal Dominion found itself surrounded by 6 human hunters that seemed to appear from empty space. Commander Vex Prime had conquered worlds across 3 sectors, but he had never seen tactics like this. His massive ship with enough firepower to destroy moons was being methodically disabled by vessels 1/10 its size. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" he screamed at his tactical officer. "The shields are at full power. Our armor plating can stop planet. Cracker weapons." The answer came from an intercepted human transmission. Dr. Hyunwoo voice calm and clinical as always. Target analysis complete. The Dreadnought-class ships have a structural weakness in the power, coupling between decks 15 and 16. 3 years of studying wreckage has given us complete technical specifications. What made the aliens panic was the realization that humans were not fighting desperately for survival. They were executing a carefully planned extermination operation. Every shot was precise, every maneuver was calculated, every tactic was designed to cause maximum psychological impact. The human fleet moved with coordination that seemed impossible for individual ships. Each vessel knew exactly where every other vessel would be at any given moment. They flowed around the alien formations like water, finding every gap, every weakness, every opportunity. Commander Taemin watched from sole pride as his hunters systematically dismantled the alien fleet, piece by piece. This was not a battle in any traditional sense. This was a demonstration of what happened when predators stopped pretending to be prey. Sora monitored the tactical situation from her station, reporting each victory with professional. "Com Hegemony Cruiser Stormbringer is disabled, sir. Their main engines are offline and life support is failing on 7 decks. Shall we finish them?" "Negative," replied Taemin. "Let them experience what our colonists felt when the Hegemony ships arrived. Fear is an excellent teacher. We want survivors to carry the message back to their empire." The psychological warfare was perhaps more devastating than the physical combat. The aliens had expected either immediate surrender or desperate resistance. What they found instead was cold professional efficiency that treated their destruction as a routine military exercise. Captain Hyejin commanded the hunter ship Daegu Storm and watched as her prey tried frantically to escape. Her ship matched every movement, staying just close enough to remind the aliens that they could strike at any moment but choosing not to. "This is what it feels like to be hunted," she broadcast on open frequencies so the aliens could hear. "We learned this feeling from your attacks on our colonies. Now you understand why humans study predator and prey relationships so carefully." Communications Officer Subin intercepted increasingly frantic hegemony transmissions as their fleet commanders realized the scope of their defeat. "They are requesting immediate evacuation support from their home fleets," she reported. "They are also sending detailed warnings about human combat capabilities." "Too late," said Taemin. "The lesson has already begun. The alien ships that remained functional were not fighting anymore. They were running, trying to reach the edge of the solar system where they might escape to hyperspace. But the human hunters had planned for this too. Mines and automated weapons platforms waited at every possible exit point. What the Hegemony fleet discovered was that they were not just outnumbered and outgunned. They were trapped in a carefully constructed killing field that had been prepared for years. Every possible escape route had been anticipated and blocked. The hunters continued their work with mechanical precision, disabling ships rather than destroying them, leaving crews alive but helpless. The message was clear. Humans could have killed everyone quickly but chose not to. The mercy was calculated, and that made it more terrifying than any violence could have been. As the last functional alien weapons went silent, the hunters began the final phase of their demonstration. They would leave just enough enemy ships operational to carry word back to Hegemony space, word that humanity was no longer hiding, word that the galaxy had a new apex predator. What truly broke the minds of the Hegemony fleet was not the human weapons or tactics. It was the realization that they had awakened something that treated war like an art form. The aliens began to understand they had not found a primitive species learning to fight. They had discovered creatures that were born knowing how to kill, Lieutenant Dong Hyun sat at his weapons console aboard the hunter ship Incheon Wrath, watching alien ships drift helplessly through space. His targeting computer showed perfect accuracy on every shot, but the shots were not meant to destroy. They were meant to terrify. "Sir," he reported to Captain Hai-jin, "we have disabled life support on the enemy cruiser. Storm render. Their crew is experiencing oxygen deprivation in sections 4 through 9. They have approximately 30 minutes before permanent brain damage begins. Shall we end their suffering?" Captain Hai-jin studied her tactical display showing dozens of crippled alien vessels floating like wounded animals in a trap. "Negative," she replied coldly. "Let them feel what our people felt when hegemony processing ships took them away to die in alien mines. Fear teaches lessons that outlast death. This was humanity. True weapon, not superior technology, but complete understanding of psychological warfare. Every human soldier carried memories of the lost colonies. Every crew member had heard recordings of their people begging for mercy from aliens who gave none. The hegemony commanders found themselves facing an enemy that did not just want to win. They wanted their opponents to suffer the same helplessness that human colonists had experienced. The difference was that humans were much better at inflicting precise psychological damage communications. Officer Subin intercepted alien transmissions that were becoming more desperate by the minute. "Captain, they are broadcasting surrender requests on all frequencies. Overlord Nexus is offering to withdraw completely from human space and pay tribute for safe passage." The answer came not from any single ship but from Admiral Jin Ho, broadcasting from Earth Command to every vessel in the solar system. "Tribute. They want to offer tribute to the species they plan to enslave. Tell them that monsters do not negotiate with food." The words hit the alien fleet like physical blows. Their translators struggled to convert the meaning. But the intent was clear. Humans were not interested in conquest or tribute. They were interested in making sure the hegemony never forgot this lesson. Dr. Hyunwoo appeared on communication screens throughout the human fleet, his calm voice carrying to every ship. His psychological analysis of the enemy was complete, and what he had learned was terrifying. The hegemony species has never experienced genuine defeat, he reported to the assembled captains. Their expansion has lasted 800 years, without a single major loss. Their psychology is built on the assumption of inevitable victory. They literally do not know how to process the concept of being prey, Captain. Yoon Seo listened from her hunter ship, Busan Fury, while watching alien vessels try desperately to form defensive formations that humans had already studied and countered. "Doctor, what does this mean for our tactical approach?" "It means we are not just fighting their ships, we are breaking their understanding of reality itself." Dr. Hyunwoo replied, "Every disabled vessel, every helpless crew, every moment of fear they experience is reshaping their species' concept of their place in the galaxy. The human ships moved through the battlefield like sharks through a feeding frenzy, but their movements were controlled, calculated, designed for maximum psychological impact rather than simple destruction. Each action was chosen to demonstrate human superiority in the most humiliating way possible. Commander Tae-min opened channels to the surviving alien commanders, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 3 years of carefully controlled rage. "You came here believing you were apex predators," he said. "Let me explain what real predators look like." On his tactical display, he showed the aliens exactly how thoroughly they had been studied. Every ship design, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine had been analyzed and countered. Human intelligence had infiltrated hegemony computer networks years ago, learning everything while giving nothing in return. Your Eternal Dominion-class dreadnoughts have 17 critical vulnerabilities. Taemin continued. Your Storm-class cruisers can be disabled by targeting 3 specific systems. Your standard battle formations have 12 exploitable weaknesses. We know your ships better than you do. The alien overlord Nexus tried to respond, but his voice was shaking with fear that his species had not felt for centuries. "This is impossible," he said. "Your technology level. Our scans showed primitive industrial capabilities, barely capable of interplanetary travel." "That was the point," replied Tae-min. "We wanted you to see exactly what we wanted you to see." We spent 3 years pretending to be sheep while we studied how to kill wolves. Every colony you destroyed gave us more data. Every ship you captured taught us more about your weaknesses. The psychological impact spread through the hegemony fleet as crews realized the full scope of human deception. Their enemy had not been hiding in fear. They had been hiding the way spiders hide in webs, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Captain Minho commanded the hunter ship Gwangju Thunder, and his crew had specialized in studying alien crew psychology. They knew exactly how to break enemy morale without killing anyone. His ship positioned itself next to a disabled hegemony destroyer and began broadcasting, "Attention alien crew. This is Captain Minho of the human fleet. Your ship is completely disabled, but you are alive. This is intentional. We could have killed you in the first 30 seconds of engagement, but we chose not to. Do you understand what this means?" The alien crew did understand, and that understanding was more terrifying than death would have been. They were alive because humans had decided to let them live. Their survival was not their own achievement, but their enemy mercy. What made it worse was that the mercy was calculated and temporary. The humans were demonstrating that alien lives had value only as messengers. Every disabled ship, every surviving crew member was being turned into a living advertisement
of human capabilities. Lieutenant So Young operated the electronic warfare systems aboard Soul Pride, and her job was to make sure every alien transmission was recorded and analyzed. "We are intercepting their communications to home fleets," she reported.
They are sending detailed tactical reports about our capabilities along with psychological evaluations of human combat doctrine. "Perfect," said Commander Taemin. "Make sure those transmissions reach every hegemony world. We want the entire alien empire to know exactly what happened here today." The battlefield had become a classroom, and the hegemony fleet was learning lessons they would never forget. Every disabled weapon system, every helpless crew, every moment of terror was being carefully documented and transmitted across alien space. The message was becoming clear to every watching species throughout the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself as something far more dangerous than another conquering empire. They were systematic, methodical predators who studied their prey for years before striking. As the last alien weapons fell silent, the human fleet began the final demonstration of their new reality. The age of easy conquest was over. The galaxy had met its new apex predators, and they looked exactly like the peaceful species that had once begged for mercy.